Hey, welcome back, everybody. My name is Vikram Deol. I'm super excited to have my buddy Isaac Lara on the team. On the podcast today. And Isaac, I met about a year and a half ago at the Empire Business Summit with Bedros and Sharon and Craig Ballantyne. And he, he just he just struck me as somebody who I wanted to get to know a little bit more over time. And as I got to get to know him more over time, he has quite the story. He was an EMT. Yesterday we were working on a project and he says, I've closed more people's eyes for the last time than I can even count. And that was like, hit me so hard. But then at the same time, while this guy's trying to save lives, he was going through some serious depression and he was going through a mental shift where he wanted to get out of what he was doing and change his whole life to be this amazing world renowned copywriter so that he could help more people with their business. He's actually helping me with my business. And that's what he was aspiring to while he was still trying to help people save lives. He's got quite the story, so I don't want to steal any of his thunder because I know that Isaac, one, he's a crafter of all words, so he's going to deliver, I'm sure, something beautifully. But when I met him last year, this guy was not the same guy I see today. He was very shy. He was very into his shell. He was all about, he hid behind his notebook. And then when he pitched me on the package that we're working, I was like, dude, whoa, like where did this guy come from? But 3 years ago, you're in a completely different space. So Isaac, without further ado, the crowd went wild for you just now. Share what I missed. And you're only like 19 years old. You're born yesterday, practically.
Yeah, I got a baby face. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It was such a pleasure. Really fun, actually. I believe it's my first podcast interview, actually. So you'd get the first dibs on everything that I share.
We popped your cherry, baby.
Yeah, yeah. You're the Tim Ferriss to my Jocko Willink, if that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah. So I was an EMT. Did that for 4 years. Started that when I was 19, and then I did that till I was 23. So if math right, it's about 4 years.
Okay.
And then from that time period, like I was trying to like do online stuff, and because I learned about it, I had this like whole thing. Like we'll unpack all of it,
Yeah,
like of
yeah,
how like
yeah.
the roller coaster of it. But I like tried a bunch of stuff online, and then obviously nothing webcams. My whole family thought I was doing webcams because I was in my room all day. And I was like, don't come barging in. I need the camera on, like lights on, everything. So there's a running joke that I do webcams with my family, but I really don't. Like,
What's your only fans? What's your OnlyFans profile? I'll be your first subscriber. $10 a month, bro. Hey,
yeah.
make a lot of money doing that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that was like the running joke. But yeah, so did a bunch of stuff online, kept like to myself. And while I was doing the EMT stuff, it was like, honestly, I couldn't have asked for like a better thing to do at that time because it allowed me to work like a full work week, like in a matter of like 3 days or 4 days. And I could spend the rest of my time like on like my skills and actually like testing stuff out and like working on something different.
Totally.
But yeah, so that was super interesting. Like I was working full time and I was going to school full time. And then once I like dropped out of college, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go full time on like trying to make money online.
So how did that work out, dropping out of college?
Oh, it was super easy. It was super easy.
Well, I know it was
um,
easy for you, but how was it for the familial?
um, they were open to it because
Okay.
like my whole path about it, like my whole like idea about it was like, okay, like I will get my EMT license. That was like the first thing that I did right out of high school. So got my EMT license so I can, because I wanted to do search and rescue for the fire department. I wanted to do with the helicopters drop down and like do search and rescue. Like I thought that was
Sweet.
like the coolest thing possible. But also there's an undertone underneath all this stuff that I was going through. Like I wanted to die. Like I wanted to like
Wait, hold
have
on, hold
someone.
on.
Yeah,
We got to call a timeout here. I'm going to call it audible. You wanted to save lives, but you wanted to die.
yeah. Like I wanted like a hero. Like oh that was fucking dope. Like at the funeral, like everyone's like, damn, that was pretty cool. Like at the end, like under their breath, like yeah, it was pretty cool to die. Like I wouldn't want anything better. That's how like
died
was in
doing
my head.
something died doing something epic, like hanging out of a helicopter saving somebody's life, and then you got like blazed up in a fire that went out of control.
Yeah, that was like pretty much it. So like my whole path was EMS, firefighter, paramedic, and then work my way up into the search and rescue. But yeah. So, and if I died any between that, like I'd been fine with that because it's been like something like heroic, quote unquote heroic.
I got two questions. Two questions. Question one: why did you want to die?
Um, it's like several reasons. One, I like childhood and stuff like that, like abusive childhood,
Like
and
what?
then
What kind of abusive childhood? Beating up by your
physical.
parents,
Oh
yelling.
yeah, yeah, like yeah. So like abusive childhood with physical, mental, and emotional stuff. So, I have I have a teen mom. She's had me when she was like 19 and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then throughout my childhood, she was bipolar depressive, but like totally undiagnosed. So it was totally ebbs and flow of emotions. And I didn't know why. Like, one, I wasn't an angel. Like, I could definitely say that. Like, I was a little shit. So, like, half the beatings I probably like deserved. But majority of them most likely didn't because I was a kid. I was fucking little.
Yeah, you're
But
doing what a
yeah,
child does.
exactly. But I don't think the way they were handled would have been the best way.
Okay.
But hey, like I forgive my mom. Like I totally like forgive her. Like I'm grateful that she did that. Because like now it's kind of like if anything happens, like well, like do they hit harder than my mom? Like probably not. So
Yo, bro, my mom hit me way harder, and I was only 7. You bitch. Oh, really? Pow. Okay, that kind of hurt that time. I'm gonna go and stop talking shit to 17 people. Um,
yeah.
so your mom used to kind of kick the shit out of you, and she didn't even realize she was probably doing it because when you're bipolar, you don't really know what you're doing, and then she'd come back and be like, "I'm so sorry," and you're freaked out because she could at any moment again beat the fuck out of you.
Oh yeah, like pretty much. Like our roles reversed instead of like her being the caretaker. Like she was such an emotional wreck, and she still struggles with it. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole like mental health is very important to me.
Okay.
And I always talk about people like, hey, make sure that's healthy because I know it sucks. So yeah, so like our roles reversed. So instead of her being the caretaker, I've been the caretaker
Yeah.
of her, like not financially, obviously, because I was too young to freaking work, but later as I got older, that transitioned into being that type of caretaker
Yeah.
later on. But yeah, so it was that, and then
You're her
the
emotional blanket.
oh yeah, like I remember when I was little, I was probably like 4, or it was in between like that 3 to 5 range. I think I was like 4 or something. Like I remember seeing like her have cuts all over her, and I would just like, "Hey, mom, what happened?" Like being a kid, I was like worried about my mom, and she's like, "I fell," but I knew like into like I just knew that was a lie, like intuitively, like it was just like, no, something's wrong. Like this
That's
doesn't.
not normal cuts from like a scrape and a bump and a fall.
Yeah, like they're too precise and like in line with each other. Like it was like
Crazy.
yeah, so it's like it was like on her wrists and her legs and stuff like that. Like they're pretty like deep and gashy. Like there's
Mm.
she still has scars on them.
Oof.
Um, yeah, so it's like it's yeah, so like I like having that aspect, and then I never really had like a good father figure.
Okay.
So my biological father, he is no longer in my life. Like what's that's like later we'll unpack that.
Okay.
But so he had kids with 3 different women, and he was just a stand-up role model of how to be a quote unquote like man. Like I'm being totally sarcastic, but
Right.
yeah. So 7, he just
What
gave
not
up.
to do?
Yeah, like what not to do. Like that's why I'm
What
like super
not to do?
grateful for that. Like okay, what not to do.
Right.
Instead of like oh this is what you're supposed to do. I'd rather learn like what not to do
Yeah.
and avoid all the mistakes.
Right.
So yeah, so he just walked like practically just gave up on seeing me when I was 7. Didn't get introduced until I was 15. So within that 17, 15, I didn't have him in my life, and our relationship was rocky after that. Then I had a stepdad who was even more insecure than anyone I've ever met in my life, and like would belittle people, and just I was like the black sheep of the family of it. So he had his own kid, and then my stepdad and my mom had their own kid. So like I was the black sheep of the family, got blamed for everything, got shit talked about me. Like so I had these like all these like issues of like self-worth. Like I was a
Yeah.
little chunky sucker. I used food to cope with stuff,
Sure.
and I would get made fun of like my man boobs. Like I would totally just get teased all the time, get told I was fat, like all this whole stuff. Like I remember this one time like they like I just loved food, and I didn't know it at the time, like I was coping with that's how I coped.
Right.
But like I would like eat peanut M&Ms, I'll have cake, and then like it was just a lot. And then this one time, I don't know exactly what happened, but I just got off the rails with it with my mom and like my stepdad, and they like forced me to eat the food and cake. Like they poured the fucking peanut M&Ms and then on the cake and like forced me to eat it, and it was just like I was like about to throw up, and it was just like a horrible experience. But I still like I'm still working on that, like coping with food. I'm becoming more like self-aware, not of like come back to like, oh yeah, you use food to cope,
Yeah.
like abase the trigger, like what's actually like causing you to do that. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Of just like from that to like dealing with like my mom's issues. Like I used to think I wasn't loved because she was in a room all day, and like she was dealing with her own shit. Like I
Right.
totally get it now, but at the time, like I was like I've had
But
like
you're a
no
kid.
self-worth.
You're
Yeah,
a
like
kid, and you're like, you need your mom to be mom and not have her own shit. And she couldn't be mom because she had all of her own shit.
exactly. Yeah, so like if I like was bitter towards it, I'd be like, screw you, mom. Like, no, like I'm totally empathetic towards her. I love my mom dearly. But I just know like she's working through her stuff. Like I that's it. Like that's just like how it fucking happened. But
So, this is your high school time frame.
yeah, this is
This is
from
high
like
school ish, young adult.
six years old till like high school. Yeah, because they got married when I was 6. Yeah.
And is he still in there? Stepdad, is he still around?
No, not at
Okay.
all. Like me and him have like a pretty decent relationship now. I forgive him. I even talked to him. I was like, hey, appreciate you for everything you helped me out with. Like that's been like kind of like the big thing of like just forgiving and then being grateful for it.
So, I know there's the stuff that I want to unpack, but real quick, like 3 ways that somebody can be grateful in a time of such pain. I mean, how do you be such a bubbly person? I mean, I struggle personally with letting go and forgiving, right? And I try to live in a beautiful state. I mean, I live in a pretty beautiful state, but at the same time, there's times where I'm just like, why am I having to be nice to these people? Like, fuck them. I don't fucking appreciate what you did. I know it was a long time ago, but you still haven't changed. Maybe I haven't changed. Maybe neither of us changed. How do you have gratitude when you don't want to have gratitude?
So I'll touch on one that like was like a huge pain point for me. That was like really bad. So, I used to get gagged with like a sock because I'd scream so loud, like when I was getting like my fucking ass spanked like crazy. So
They
there's a lot
gag
of
you with the
like,
sock?
yeah, like they would shove the sock in my mouth and then so I couldn't
Wow.
scream at all. Like it was
Wow.
no fun, but
That's not
no fun
enjoyable?
at all. Like, yeah.
Okay.
So like I know
No,
like there's
note to
like the
Vikram, do not gag women when you're having sex with them with sock. It's not enjoyable. Okay.
yeah it's
Ask for
not yeah
permission. Yeah, okay. That sounds horrible.
yeah. So that was like a huge thing for me. Like I like hung on to it. I was like you gagged me and like you like fucking. It was like a not like a belt. Like yeah, belts were used at times and stuff, but like a paddle, like a wooden paddle. So it was like quote unquote like discipline. But if we really look at it, it's like it was fucked up. But yeah, it was totally fucked up.
Yeah.
So like the
That's,
way I look at it
that's
now, like to find like gratitude, like I try to like put myself in their shoes. Like what happened? Like what were they doing? And at the
yeah.
time, like my mom, she was a single mom. My dad was not paying child support, none of that shit. Like he was just out screwing other women and getting them pregnant. That's all he was doing. So my mom was dealing with all that. She was probably working, I think she was working like 2 jobs, and she was stressed out for cash. She was still low on funds working 2 jobs, taking care of a fucking kid who's all over the place and like has like nothing to really exert himself. Like I was just in a room or in child daycare. Like I was all over the place. Then she has her own like mental issues. And if I am out of order, she has no one else to take her anger out except me.
Just yeah, you're just there.
Yeah, like I'm just there. Like I'm just like, hey, like I know I added to it. It's not like she just snapped. She's like, I fucking hate you. Like I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Like I obviously did something that
You
was the
triggered
catalyst.
her, but when you have compulsive disorders, or if you're manic depressive or whatever her flavor of what the doctor calls her is, whenever you have that, they're my aunt is like that.
Hmm.
My cousin told me, like, dude, my mom would just come in and start beating the shit out of us. Like, I won't leave my kids alone with her to babysit. Like, she's not allowed to be alone with my kids because I don't know when she's going to flip the switch and just start going fucking ballistic on them. And I said,
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like. I mean, my parents weren't like that, so I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to be in an abusive household where they use things against you, which are really, it's not cool. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't physical, it was more psychological. And it fucks with you, man. It fucking degrades you into a point where, like you said, your feeling of self-worth kind of doesn't exist for a while, and then you start coping with food, or you start coping with drugs or alcohol, and then that just spirals you down more. Because you know, if you've read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, it's the hypnotic rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So once you're kind of broken a little bit, then it's just like, and then you start watching TV, and then you start doing stupid stuff, and then you start getting it's just a never-ending spiral downwards. So you're getting abused, you're getting trashed on, you're getting shit talked to, the stepdad's fucking with you, everybody's just you're just the punching bag of the house.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. How'd that feel? I mean, how did it feel now looking back at it? Like, now you're an adult, you're making money, you're working with some really awesome people, you're on the verge of like huge successes. Like, I mean, you've already, from where you probably came from, you've already achieved tremendous amount of success. But where you want to go, I know you're just on the, you're just on the second or third step, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like where I really want to be, like, I'm just getting started. Like, this is just like, I'm like learning how to walk.
So how did you get over? I hate the word get over. How did you work through all that emotional baggage? And what did you have to do? Like, I know you told me some stuff the other day. I don't know if you want to share it, but you said that a couple of years ago you did some things that, I was like, really? You did that? Like, out of all the people I know, like, I wouldn't have put that with you, because you're always like, one, you don't talk very much when I met you, and you just didn't seem like you had a lot of issues that you would need to deal with. So,
Yeah. So to what you're referring, like that like whole like bubbly like personality that you were saying before that no one would expect anything, like that was the mask that I had. Like, it's usually like the opposite of what someone has, like that they're wearing is what they're actually feeling inside. So like inside I was like broken, crying. I was just but no one wants to deal with that shit. Like, no one wants to deal with the person crying. Like,
yeah,
like it's just like,
yeah,
"Ugh, get the fuck away from me. Like,
yeah,
you're a downer on me."
yeah,
So I always have that bubbly mask and stuff, but like it just kept like compounding and pounding, like compounding, like literally like the rock of whatever you call it, like investing, where like compounds and keeps growing. Like, if you
compound
keep bottling
interest.
it up and trying to, like, you know what, like, I'm not going to address this, like it's always going to be there. The thoughts that you have are always going to be there. I still work through this stuff right now,
How
like
do you
on
work?
certain things. Oh yeah, um, so I'll talk about the gratitude one, because actually this is like what's really helped me out a lot. That helped keep me the positive and not be like some fucking asshole. Like totally just anger at the world. Like, I had a lot of anger. I always had a lot of anger with it.
Yeah,
But just being more positive. I always thought like there's someone who has it worse than me. That's like everything that's happened that's bad to me or anything like that. There's someone has had it worse than me, and that allows me to like figure out like, okay, like if I say like when I was getting my fucking ass beat, like there's someone getting molested or raped right now. It's like, okay, cool, boom, like someone probably got their legs broken or something like that. Like, or if I can't, like when I like messed up my ankle when I tore my Achilles tendon, I was like so sad, but I always referred back like, well, someone can't walk.
right, right.
So like I always try to, like, I'm not like trying to belittle other people. I'm just trying to be as real as possible.
With
Of just
yourself.
like, exactly, like what's the situation? Like, are you actually like making it bigger than it is, or it's just like, okay, this is what's happening. Like, but now it's easier now for me to even address that stuff, because like I was telling you, like I've seen so much death. Like, I've lost count
Yeah,
how many people like I've seen die. So it's kind of like, oh, am I alive? Cool. Like,
so much to be
that's really it.
grateful
Like,
for.
it can't get any more real than that. And it's like, did I fucking wake up today? Like, did I do something that I actually cared about? Cool. Done. Like, it makes it so much easier to like decompress the problems that you have. Like, a lot of people keep in their mind and stuff like that. It just makes it so much worse. And the other part that like helps me decompact this stuff, and it builds on top of it, is journaling. I know as like
Hmm.
stupid as that is, everyone says how dumb it is.
No, I don't think it's stupid at all, man. I think it's
Yeah,
important.
it's
I don't journal nearly enough.
yeah, and I'm not saying like journal every single day, like make it a freaking routine. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
routines are very important and they help you keep sane and what's
Super
happening.
important.
I make sure I have a lot of that in my life.
Yeah,
But
super important. We'll
yeah,
have
but
to
if
talk
you're
a little bit about that.
oh yeah. So like if the only times I really journal now is and it's been a lot more it's taken a lot of pressure off me. Is like, okay, when am I feeling the most anxious or feeling the most like overwhelmed with stuff, like I would write it down. Like just write what's happening and then writing it down like slows down your thought process and allows you to like objectively take a step back and see what's happening and then figure out the solution.
Well, Joe Rogan interviewed, I think it's Matthew McConaughey.
Hmm.
And he's been keeping a journal since he was younger than you are. And when he went to college, he started having good times and he stopped journaling. And then one day he woke up, he said, I haven't been journaling as much lately. I wonder why. And he said, oh, well, it's because things are really good. And he said, well, I think things are probably going to get bad again here in the near future because that's just the cycle of life. I probably want to document what I did to keep me at these higher vibrations so that when I get low, I know what to do to get back up. And so I feel like journaling's super powerful. And sometimes people want this silver bullet, which doesn't exist. Like right now we live in a COVID world. Everybody wants the vaccine, but nobody wants to do the work so that they don't have to take a vaccine. They just want a vaccine. And I said, well, if you guys go outside and do these 5 or 6 things every day and you spend 45 to an hour and a half every day, you're not going to even want a vaccine because you're going to feel so good that you're not going to want to introduce this foreign toxins into your body. But people just always want that easy out, right? They want that easy out. And journaling is free and it is an easy thing to do. It's just like gratitude, having a gratitude practice. It's easy to do. It's also easy not to do. Or it's hard to do today, but it's also hard to live a positive life in the future when all you do is feed yourself with 50,000 thoughts of unoriginal, uninspired negativity from CNN and Fox and MSNBC. And I mean, even the financial markets now, all they talk about is death and destruction. They don't even talk about businesses anymore. It's like 85% fear and then 15%, oh, we're going to talk about Coca-Cola's third performance review today. Oh, I'm like, oh, wait, what? Hold on, there's actually stock tips here? Like, okay, that's great. Otherwise, it's just death and destruction all day long. So I want to back up. Right now, a lot of people are facing uncertain times. A lot of people are facing fear. A lot of people are facing a pandemic, which, exists or doesn't exist, depends on where you live. But there's a lot of people that are losing their jobs. There's a lot of people who are out of businesses. There's a lot of people who are hundreds or thousands or millions of dollars in debt. And there's a lot of people who want to just end it. Like they don't want to be here anymore. And they're not, I've had suicide thoughts since I was a kid. I've run away from my parents' house. I've always tried to escape. And I was like you. I was like, man, if I die riding my bike or jumping out of an airplane or doing something cool, like I would be remembered as epic, but I wouldn't have to live here anymore. I wouldn't have to suffer. The pain would go away. I can't kill myself. I've cut myself a couple of times. Nothing major. Just it was like, oh shit, that hurts. That's freaky. Like a wake-up call. But I've always said, and I tell people how I want my funeral. I'm like, I want to die. Like I literally told people like all the time how I want my funeral, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't really want to die. I just want to stop the pain a little bit. And you got to change your thoughts. You got to change your processes, which you were talking about, the journaling and the gratitude. But you went through this a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty real and raw for you. And now you not only did you go through it, but you saw death and destruction around you all day long. And then you left your current safe, cushy career to start a new career on your side. And then during your side hustle, when you actually hired a real coach, you lost all your business and you were at rock bottom potentially, depending on how you look at it. If money's everything to you, which, it's pretty fucking important. it's one of my pillars in life as finances, because if you don't have any, then you have problems. So when people say money doesn't buy happiness, I said, well, I mean, it might not buy happiness, but it sure helps pay your rent bill and your mortgage bill and your light bill and your, it's a lot better to have electricity so you have warmth than it is to sit in a bathroom with your dad and mom and brother and sister with 3 blankets huddled in front of a little space heater. So how did you go from 3 years ago where you're at to where you're at today? What took you there? Where were you 3 years ago? Because I think there's a lot of people right now, Isaac. I think there's a lot of people right now that are where you were 3 years ago, and they have a life of abuse, right? They can chalk up the situations where they can say, my dad beat me, the pasture boy raped me, the schoolyard teacher told me I was a piece of shit and I was never going to amount to anything. The teacher told me that I should sit in fucking detention and not in class because I was too stupid to learn anything, right? They have all these stories that allow them to be a victim, and they are warranted to be a victim because of these stories, because people really fucked with them and said some really fucked up shit, which as a kid you believe the adult, because that's what how do you survive if you don't believe the adult? So
Yeah.
how did you go from somebody who was, technically broken, abused, scared, unlovable, big old man titties, to seeing people kill themselves, to seeing people dead every day on the streets, to trying to take your life and then shifting all of that at the same time? Let's go start a copywriting career, because that sounds totally normal, because everybody loves changing careers in the middle of a shitstorm. How are you still here with us? We're glad you are.
One of them is like mentorship. That is like the biggest thing. Like if you can get someone to show you what's happening, or like actually, hey, this is what's going to happen, or this is what you're going through, it makes things easier. And I'm not saying like you have to pay for anything like that. Like Vikram, it's like I read books all the time. Books are how it's my way of like quote unquote like active meditation. It helps me figure out, okay, this is what's happening. It's very calming. For me, my biggest thing is like I need calm. Like I need stuff to be calm. Like I don't mind if stuff's chaos. Like I've been trained to find calm in chaos. Like I'm very happy about that. Because like what I was doing is like it's life or death situations that you can't fuck up. Like you have to like be on point.
Legitimate.
But it's just like my biggest thing is like I need silence. I need like what's his face's book? Ryan Holiday's book is Stillness. Stillness is the key. Like he talks about like having these moments of like stillness. I didn't even know what that was. Like I'm obsessed with like that, and then like flow, because when you're in those moments, there's really nothing else that can bother you. You're like something happens, you're like, oh, okay, cool. All right, let me just go with it. Like let me move around, let me navigate it. But what really helped me navigate through that stuff was really like reading books. So my first step, like I remember it was like 10 days after my 23rd birthday, I was driving and I just realized like, oh, like I actually want to be alive. Like that was like the moment it was like, oh, this is the day where I want to be alive. Like this is my first time in my life where I feel happy and I want to be alive. And that was it. But that was a part of the whole process. But like I read Maston Kipp's book. It was like some journaling thing, like you break down just like 40 days of I forgot exactly what the book was called, but read that book, and it was just, I did the exercises, and you get to address the traumas that happened and who you really wanted to, like who like caused it. And then the other part that like helps me figure out and not like hold resentment towards anything is actually having empathy towards the people who abused you or people who said horrible things to you. Because if you're able to understand the problems that they had and are able to see like, okay, what was happening in their life at that moment, what was going on, and what did I do? Did that add to that? But also like look at what happened to them in the past as well. And you'll get to realize and get insight into that person's thinking and how they actually are. So with my stepfather, who I used to hold a lot of resentment towards, I used to hate him, but I realized like his dad treated him like shit. His dad used to spit on him. And it's like, he has these, like, I became more and more self-aware of it with like, he would go to his dad for approval. He would go to other people for approval. And it's just like, This guy's just looking for approval. Like he's an insecure dude. He's a boy. Like he's really just a child. Like that little part of him has not been healed yet, and he still operates like that. My mom, for example, other stuff happened to her, and I'm just like, fuck. Like no wonder like you feel this way. Okay, like I get it. You're just like, and I see it now, and it's painful to see that stuff because they're your parent or you're like your uncle or someone you look up to.
Angels. Like your
Yeah,
angels,
exactly,
man.
Yeah, but you get to see the flaws, and you actually see these moments of like, oh, they're a fucking child. Like you're dealing with a child. Like how would you deal with a child? Be nice to them. Cool. Like that really takes away the power that they had on you overall, because like it's just that one small glimpse that you need to see in a moment where you're just like, oh fuck, like they're just a child. Would I be mad if a little kid said you're just gonna be like your lazy dad?
No.
I'd be like, yeah, fuck off. Like you don't know shit. Yeah, like exactly. Like so that's what like exactly like I'll drop kick the kid. Like fuck, like go play, go do something else.
I'll show you how my mom
like,
used to kick me. Whack.
So looking at that, like being able to see and like replay, like, okay, like this was a kid this whole time that was saying that to me. This was a kid who was hitting me. This is a kid who was doing that. Like it kind of just takes like the fucking power that they had over you. It makes it so much easier to like, I'm not saying you'll get over this stuff. Like, don't get me wrong. Like trauma's trauma. It's going to happen. Like,
it takes time to get through it no matter which way you look at it. I mean, even though you're where you're at today, it still takes time to get over it completely.
Exactly.
And you might not ever get over it completely, but you'll learn how to work through the emotions so that they don't affect you negatively.
Yeah, exactly. Like it makes it so much easier. Just like, oh, that's a kid. Yeah. Like, would you be mad if a kid punched you like in the arm or like you guys were like quote unquote like play fighting, like you got rough with each other?
No, because I'd
like no,
pick him up
just
and
like
throw him across the room and call him a name.
Yeah, like you're just like, all right, cool. Like I wouldn't be like I don't know that takes like the power away from them, but like the whole thing is you're giving these people power over you. But if you just realize like I'm dealing with a fucking child. All right, cool.
So you brought up a couple of you brought up some things that I want to kind of unpack a little bit. I've been taking some notes over here. You talk about this thing called stillness and flow, and in a lot of the podcasts I've done recently, maybe the last 4 or the 5, and I don't know which way these are all going to air because right now with COVID and the elections and people still being locked up, we might change the order of these. So, but a lot of the things that a lot of the people I talk about, they talk about parenting and they talk about these abstract concepts like flow and stillness, right? So when I think of stillness, I think of just sitting down and trying to quiet the brain. I can never quiet the mind completely, right? Because that's Jedi master mind tricks, and I'm not there yet. But I can make a 15-minute carve out in my day to just sit down and sit on my meditation mat and sit on my meditation cushion and just sit there, whether it be guided or myself. I set the alarm so there's no worry in my brain that I'm going to miss the next appointment in my daytime, which for most people that's not a problem because they get up after 30 seconds and it feels like they've been sitting there for an eternity. But stillness to me is about making space for you to just sit down with yourself. And you can have your thoughts or you can try to just work on focusing on your breath. You know, is that kind of the stillness that you talk about? I know you
somewhat.
said your reading is meditative to you. For me, biking is meditative. It's being in the pool. For me, swimming is meditative because it's quiet. I'm like you. I need that quiet, but I also need, for me, I need movement and quiet because that, it's like the thoughts just race behind me. Like they can't keep up with me. Like, hey, come back. And I'm like, I can't hear you. Faster, right? So I know stillness can mean a lot of different things. So what is define stillness to you for the audience?
So stillness for me is these moments where you can't think of anything.
Okay.
Like it's just you're so there in the moment and not just being like fully present. Like you're just it's really hard to explain. It's just like it's a moment of ecstasy for me.
So like, let me try to give an analogy because I think this goes into what flow is as well. It's like dancing with a girl that you're super and like you see her from across the thing, you Babe Ruth, I pointed at her, and then she talks to you back, and you're like, oh my God. And the whole world could be crashing beneath you. But that moment is just nothing else matters because it's you and that person that you're just so enamored with.
Yeah, it's exactly those moments. Like the ones I could think about, like after I work out. After I work out, I'm literally just everything that was in my head is just like flushed away, and all I could focus is either on like, okay, nothing. Like it's just like that moment you just like push yourself and just like there's nothing.
Right.
It's just like that split moment. Like when you flip on a switch, there's darkness and light. So if you turn off a switch, there's a moment where it transitions,
Right.
and it's hard for me to explain it. And
No,
flow
you're
kind
doing
of goes
great.
talks about it, but it's just like this moment that's like stillness. Like when I finish reading for like 20 or 30 minutes, like later in the night or in like when I'm having my morning coffee, there's just like this like sense of peace and just this like I feel like nothing can really bother me.
Yeah, I get
I'm
you.
just like, oh, okay, like I'm good. Like I was stressed out earlier, but I feel recharged.
It's like a split moment of Zen.
Yeah, like that's like it's a drug to me. Like if people are like, yeah, like what's your vice? Like, dude, it's fucking flow and like finding stillness.
And so flow, so stillness is like when you see the girl and she says hello to you and you have that moment where you're like, oh my God, is this really happening? And it's like, yes, that's kind of like the Zen moment. And then flow, we'll stay with the same analogy, but it's when you ask her to dance and you guys are dancing and you know you dance like shit and you know that everybody else in the room can see you dancing like shit, but you are just so excited that she said yes to dance with you and you're just dancing your heart out and you're just flowing. And when you bring it back to like a work sense or a life sense, it's when you get into the moment, because sometimes I hear the word flow, people say, oh, I'm in flow. And I'm like, what does that even mean to you? What does that mean to you? To me, it means like you're flowing, you're doing something you love so much that nothing else around you matters. Like that's
Yeah,
what flow
like
means. Like this to me is a flow state right here. Like I could do this for 12 hours a day. I love it. Now putting this on the internet and having to market it and edit out the ums and the dumbs and the whatever that the other people that are smarter than me do, that's work to me. But just rapping with cool people about their lives and how they got over things and got through things, that to me is flow.
yeah. The best way I could put it is like really what you're talking about. Like everything is focused on this one thing. You're
Yeah.
not focused on anything else. Like you're just so absorbed in the moment. Like I really get into deep flow when I'm like writing. I that's there's like I look forward to that every single day.
Writing.
Like yeah, writing. Like that's my flow. Like if say it was like something else, like I would get into flow. It doesn't matter what you do. Like you can get into flow,
Got it.
speaking into flow, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the one where I look forward to every single day is writing because I know like it's this moment that no one can take away from me. Like whatever the time limit I have, so I write in 33-minute blocks. So I do 33 minutes writing and then 5-minute break, 33 minutes, and I do that for like a 90-minute cycle.
Where did you get
Um,
33 minutes from?
I got it from Eugene Schwartz, who's like this like legendary copywriter, and that's what he did. And he learned it from like some Shaolin monks or something in like Eastern medicine. It's like
Is
I'm
there
totally
something about 33 minutes in concentration? Or is it just like a random number 33? Like it could be 44, but it's just an off number. Or is there some kind of like, weird, crazy Eastern philosophy behind it? I'm just curious for my own sake right now. I'm just
yeah.
asking selfish
There's an
questions.
interview that he talks about that he's like, oh yeah, I discovered this through this. I don't know if that was a marketing thing or that's just like, oh, this works for me. Similar to how like the work week is based off like 40-hour work week with the Ford manufacturing. Like no idea. But
Right.
everyone that I know, like or copywriters, a lot of them they stick with that time period. Yeah, so I've just
33
like
minutes.
stuck with it. Once he said it, and I've had other people say like, "Oh yeah, do this." I was like, "I'll just copy what you do." Like, okay, cool. Like, I don't have to decide anymore. Like, it's done.
Yeah, I was talking to Sharon about decision fatigue the other day, and he's like, we make all these people want to control so much stuff that doesn't matter that when it comes time to actually doing something that matters, they're exhausted. what color shirt am I going to wear? Am I going to wear pants? Am I going to wear shorts? Am I going to wear the pink socks or the purple socks? Am I going to wear this jersey or that jersey? Am I going to go to this restaurant? Just pick a fucking restaurant and go. Like, pick a movie and go, and just, who cares? Like, pick a, just have your standard drink and dinner at the restaurant you go to, so you don't have to think about it. It's like, what do you want? The same as every time I always come in. Just want the standard XYZ, because you don't have to think about it. Because every time you have to think about something, it causes the opportunity to take the wrong path. Should I get up and go to the gym, or should I just sit here and watch some Netflix on the couch? Oh, God, it's Netflix, obviously. Who wants to go to the gym? Like, I don't, but I'm going to call right after we're done with this. I'm calling up the gym, and I'm re-signing up for my membership because they're finally open. And, this new gym that doesn't make you wear a mask in there. So I'm like, cool, I'm not going to go wear a mask and work out and try to kill myself, because I've done that before. That's not fun. So it's not even a thought anymore. It's what's going to happen right after this thing. Mm-hmm. So where are you at now? So you're a copywriter, right? I want to help you kind of piece the gaps together from where you were as a 15 to a 23-year-old to where you're at now, where you're enjoying life. You're working with some pretty big names. If I said the names, people would know who they are, especially in our circles. How did you go from where you're at to where you are? What are like some tactical tips that people can take away that are in the same boat as you, right? Think of, you're talking about empathy. So think about maybe they're not the 25, 26-year-old young man. They're the 40-year-old, 42-year-old, and they got a couple of kids, and they think, we can't do this, Isaac. It's easy for you. You don't have a family. You don't have the responsibilities. It was easy for you to leave your EMT position. It was easy for you to start this new career and then lose everything and then start over again. Like, you don't have as many responsibilities. I know you work with people that have a lot of responsibilities, and I'm sure you've attracted a lot of people that have similar stories, but they're a little bit older than you. What do you say to that person?
I really can't say anything because I don't have that life
What do you say to yourself? Okay, what do you say to yourself?
Fucking sucks. Get over it. Like, as blunt as that is, like, it's just like, okay, am I going to avoid it or am I going to run towards it? Like, it's like, okay, am I scared to do this? Cool. If I do it, will I be scared after? Maybe, but what if I'm not? Like, the biggest thing for me is, like, I just need a chance. I just need to know that there's a small enough chance, and then I'll fucking do it. Because I feel confident in myself. The breakthrough that I had, I was doing the dishes, and I was reading Stillness is the Key, and I just finished reading like 30 minutes of 48 Laws of Power. But like, the whole thing that really helped me, like, I had a huge shift a couple months back in like late summer. It was just like this whole thing of like, I'm enough. Like, once that registers in your head of like, I am enough, like, that's it. Like, okay, I want to change careers. How can I do that? I'm enough. Okay, I'm enough to do that. Like, that's it. Like, it's like, I want to work with this person and I'm scared to. I am enough. Okay, I can do this. Like, it's just, once you, like, I know it's saying sounds weird, but like, once you're able to internalize that whole process of like, I am enough, it just makes things so much easier to just go through it. Because like, this whole thing, you have this whole battle. The reason why you're not doing the stuff that you want or are scared to is it comes down to self-worth. You just don't think you're enough to do it. That's really it. If it really was that, like, if you're able to eliminate that, you'd be able to do anything that you want. I'm not saying you'd be able to dunk basketballs and shit like that. Like, no, but if you're trying to like change your career, like, there's a way you could do it. You're going to have to obviously eat some shit for a bit. I know I did, and it fucking was embarrassing and it sucked. And I totally just made some sacrifices. I'll tell you about like the sacrifices that I made in the next transition. But yeah, it, like, that whole thing of just internalizing that you're enough just makes it so much easier to do what you want. Like, actually, like, have the balls or the actually like grit to just like, you know what, I'm going to hunker down and do this because I am enough. Like, you're alive. You could have died today. You literally could have died. You could have walked your dog or walk outside and got hit by a car, but you're not. So it's fucking dope. But like the giving up the stuff, like a lot of people, the biggest thing I see a lot of people holding them back now. And what's weird is like I'm giving advice to like people who are older than me, and it's kind of weird because I don't have that like years of experience, but like I know I have condensed a lot of life experience in that like short 4 years
Well, yeah,
of
man. I
like,
mean, you grew up as a child. I mean, you grew up having to somewhat fend for yourself. I got sent away to India to boarding school for a couple of years, and I felt in the first year I had to fend for myself. And so that makes you grow up. It makes you think like not like an adult because you can't, but it makes you think a little bit more survival versus, oh my gosh, look at all the pretty little roses everywhere. Oh, that's a fun little toy car. You're like, you think a little bit differently than you would if you never had that experience. So, even though you might not have the age, you might have some wisdom that most people, hopefully, I mean, knock on wood, nobody has to go through what you went through. But the reality of the situation is people are going to go through what you went through. And they're going through it right now. And you might be talking to the guy that beats his kids because he's frustrated because he doesn't feel like he's enough. And he hears this message and he's like, oh my God, that little kid's going to be my kid, but my kid might end up on the streets on drugs and crack and, a gangbanger, whereas this young man got on a clean path, but my kid could end up a different path because I beat the shit out of him all the time. So, I mean, you are enough to give advice to somebody who's much older than you because age doesn't necessarily mean maturity. And you already capped on that or touched on that earlier where you said, I had to basically take care of my mom half the time. And you weren't qualified to take care of a human. You were barely qualified to wipe your own ass probably at 6 years old and 7 years old and 8 years old. And you're not only taking care of yourself, but you're trying to take care of another human being. I mean, that's gangster in my opinion. Like, that's pretty gangster in my opinion. So
I just like, oh, cool. That was my life. Like, I don't think anything of it. Like, I'm grateful for it. Like, I really am. It's made me a better person, made way more patient. I'm able to read people so much better now. Like, that's like, I think that's like one of my like best superpowers of just like being able to read people, be able to see like actually who they are and like not the whole fucking facade. Like, I could see through the mask. I think that's like my biggest like quote unquote superpower is just seeing through the mask.
Because you had to live through the mask your whole life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, you do that. I know exactly what you're like because that used to be me. So like, all right, cool. Like, I get it. But yeah, it's the part that I was talking about, like the being enough and like the sacrifices. Mm-hmm. You got to make fuck ton of sacrifices if you really want to do something. And for me, my sacrifices, as I've been told this so many fucking times, and it irks the shit out of me. It's like, you're in your 20s. You need to sleep with every single chick that you can get your eyes on. I'm like, why? One, like, I just don't see the point of it. And I'll tell you why exactly, because I could spend my time chasing the chicks and fucking be where I'm at, like doing nothing. Or I could just use that time and energy and drama-free shit to focus on myself and the business. Like, I could, instead of going on dates and trying to like get in these people's pants and not really giving a fuck about who they are as a person, like, I can't cope with that. Like, that's too weird for me. And instead of me spending money on those dates or doing all that stuff, like, I would rather just spend it on my business. Like, if they say like, okay, like I think Tony Robbins or whatever his name is, some other guy says it. It's like, where your focus go, energy flows. Like, okay, well, I just do the opposite. Yeah. Like, my biggest thing that's really helped me out a lot is like, I've had so many bad examples in my life. I'm just like, oh, I'll just do the opposite. Cool. Like, parents were teen parents. All right, I'll use protection. Cool. Opposite done. Decision made.
I thought you were going to say, I just decided to be celibate. I was like, I
was. Yeah, I was celibate for 2 years.
Why?
Yeah. Literally what I'm telling you right now, like, this all stems like from, did not want to be like my family or my parents. Like, my dad had so many kids when he was around my age. My dad got shot when he was, I think, my age. Yeah, he got shot. So
Jesus.
yeah, so it was like,
Have you been shot? I mean, you're throwing all sorts of new
no.
things. You're thinking about it. Have I been shot before?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, yeah, no, no.
Yeah, last month
I've
I
been
got
threatened
shot
with all that
twice in the
stuff, but
leg. So
nothing.
your dad got
Yeah,
shot.
yeah. He was like hanging out with the fucking wrong crowd. So it's just like, okay, cool. You had a bunch of kids, slept around with a bunch of women. I'll do the opposite of that. Oh, you got shot, hanging around with the wrong crowd. I'll do the opposite of that. Like it's so easy to do the opposite of what you're doing. Like I don't want to say it's so easy. It takes change, but like
Yeah, it takes
once
a
you put in
lot of
perspective,
a lot of self-awareness.
yeah, like become self-aware as fuck. But like everything that I've done so far is like the opposite of what I didn't want to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Cool. I'll be nice to people. Oh, you're mean to me. Well, I was fucking dirt broke and you treated me like shit. I'll treat everyone equally. Like it's just like that. I just don't understand it. How people can be such assholes all the fucking time. Like, god damn, like you're fucking pricks. Like I get it, like being an asshole benefits you at certain points, but
Sure.
I think that's one of the big things I align with Sharon a lot. It's just like kindness is the fucking ultimate thing. Like kindness is so much better. Like being kind, actually caring, giving a fuck about a stranger you've never met. I was talking to someone this weekend, never fucking met her in my life, and she was going through something that I went through 2 years ago.
Right.
And me just being there for her and listening and actually caring about how she is and like what she's doing just made things so much easier.
Right.
Like I could just be like, let me try to fucking take advantage of this shit. Like,
Right.
no, like fuck that. Like be nice. Like someone's probably having a bad day. If you say, hey, I like your smile. Hey, I love your shirt. Cool. Spread a little happiness. Sprinkle that
Right.
shit in throughout your day.
Right.
It just makes the world of a fucking difference.
Man, right now, the world we live in has been it's being ruined by the media. I mean, I don't believe that people are inherently bad. I believe that people make bad choices, but we're all born sweet little innocent babies. Some of us have a little bit of a darker soul that we need to do work on, but for the most part, babies are pretty pure. And then they start to pick up their environmental cues of how they're supposed to behave and where they get rewards and where they get punishment, right? So some people, they got punished and they said, my parents didn't beat me, but they punished me with physical love. And they call it love. And they said, because I knew that if I went outside at this time and I did X, Y, Z, I was going to get a whipping. I didn't do that. Like, I just didn't do that. Now, other kids said, well, I knew that I was going to get a whooping, and that was the only time that my parents paid any attention to me, so I went outside and I purposely did that. So people use different things for different reasons, but it's like the dog that's always acting up because it gets yelled at, and otherwise it gets ignored. So it says, okay, well, if I do this, I'm being rewarded by physical touch, and I'm getting attention. And so we live in this strange world right now where we went from having differences and being friends to having differences and being enemies. It's like if you like this person in the political world, or if you don't like this person in the political world, you are this. And it's like you're already being labeled. And people are so quick to label and judge and just throw dirt on everybody right now. And I think you touched on it, is if everybody just sprinkled a little bit of love throughout their day, and we all did that, eventually the world would become a nicer place. But instead of sprinkling love, we all just sprinkle hate around wherever we go. We're just like dropping little turds of hate everywhere, instead of little sprinkles of, gold dust. And it costs us the same amount. But I've said it before, is hurt people. Right? So when you're hurting inside, it's hard to be that little love bug that's spreading love all over town, because you're like, dude, I'm hurting so much. And I think what you said earlier, it's if you just continuously think I'm alive and I'm living in gratitude, it just makes it a lot easier. And then I think you downplayed it, maybe because you got made fun of, or you just didn't think it's a big deal, or maybe because in your circle, like my circle, you hear people talk about it a lot. But the power of journaling is that it gets everything from here that's like bringing you down out over there into the open. It's what I love about this particular podcast that I called, I named it Be Real because I wanted to be real with myself a lot of times. And it was hard for me to express myself. But when you start to journal and you write, some people, their form of journaling, for me, it's speaking. Like I like to speak. For other people, it's writing. For other people, it's music. They create music, right? But it's their form of expression. And you don't have to always share your expression, right? Like women that are very feminine. My ex-girlfriend, if you go to her Facebook page or her Instagram page, you'll see that when she's stressed out, she'll start dancing. And people will be like, that's really sexy dancing because she's moving her body in such a way that if you don't know, you're like, wow, who's she? Like, what is she doing? But if you knew what she was doing, she's letting go of energy and that's her flow and stillness. If you talk to her, because I'll have a conversation with her and she'll be done dancing like 20 minutes later. She's like, okay, so what did you want to talk about? I'm like, what? You didn't listen to anything I said? She's like, I'm so sorry. I was in flow. You were talking? I'm like, never mind. I get it. I get it. Like at first I got frustrated, but then I was like, I get it. And people want to control so much in this world. People want to tell everybody what to do, and they want to, we're just not. We're not present. We always have distractions. I like your little tip you gave me yesterday that you bury your cell phone like in a box with a time lock on it.
Yeah. I got that from, I believe, Craig Valentine. Yeah, I love
Makes
Craig.
sense
Craig's
that it
helped me
came
out
from
tremendously.
Greg.
Yeah, Craig is amazing. So what I do, I literally put my phone in airplane mode, turn it off, and then there's a box that I got from Amazon, and there's a timer on it. You could set like how many hours you don't want to see it. So I know I have an addiction to my phone. If I go on social media, I fucking just get scrolling, and then this is one of the big things as well, is like block off as much negativity as you can. So
Right.
like social media is fucking toxic right now. I hate being on it. It's just like, fuck this, fuck that. Like, doesn't matter which party you're in.
I'm going to give you a tip. There's a snooze button, and you can snooze without defriending or defollowing people or de-liking them. You can snooze them for 30 days. And dude, I get on there and I just snooze, snooze, snooze. You've snoozed like 72 people today. I'm like, should have blocked them a long time. But like, I just started snoozing people so I can still do my crack like social media scrolling. But it's now like all the positive affirmations and it's all the positive vibes and it's, like if you go to a lot of influencer pages, they follow 300, 400, 500 people. They're friends with 72,000, but they only follow 300. And I said, isn't that kind of egotistical? They're like, no, most people put a bunch of shit on there and we're not close enough to them that we want to see their shit. Like even my coach was like, dude, I'm not going to follow you, Vikram, until I start seeing a change because you pay me to coach you, but you don't pay me to be your friend. So until you start posting stuff that I want to see, I'm not going to follow you. And then I started posting better content. And then he's like, ding. I'm like, oh, you're following me. He's like, yeah, because now you're not so like emotionally posting. You're not. A lot of people would emotionally shop at Amazon. I would emotionally post on Facebook and Instagram. And that's what a lot of people do. They don't have the self-control. So they just go and they put everything out there and they don't know why they're putting it out there. It's not necessarily for impact. It's just, like on the 5 a.m. club, I'm a moderator there or I don't know, whatever they call it. And this guy posted something and he was basically poking the bear. And I was like, hey guys, I'm thinking about blocking this guy because we don't block people. We don't really moderate to block. We moderate to just make sure that people aren't being jerks. And I said, dude, this is out of control. And then he messaged me privately. He's like, hey, why'd you block me? I'm like, because you're not adding to the group. He's like, well, I had 72 people who liked my political post. I said, okay. So you had 72 new friends. Big fucking deal. Like, well, I'm not impressed by that. Like, he's like, well, don't you think that it's good that we have interaction finally in the group? So not that kind of interaction. That's like me posting a wreck on my social media. Like, I don't want to post a wreck on there. If I had an account that was just for shits and giggles, yeah, for sure. But on my personal, no, I don't want to post that in there on these things. And he said, yeah, but the engagement's high. I said, it's not about engagement. And he just kept poking and kept poking. I just blocked him completely. And you have to. So my cousin said something to me the other day. He said, nobody gets to rent my headspace for free.
Okay.
And he says, that's on my social media. That's my family. That's my friends. He said, one of my buddies was going through a divorce. And we were friends with the husband and wife. And so the husband came up to me and said, hey, so-and-so, who are you going to be friends with? He says, what are you talking about? I'm friends with everybody. Like, you guys, I love your ex and I love you. Like, I won't bring you guys to the same party, but I'm going to invite you both to my house and I'm going to be friends. He says, well, no, you can't be friends with her. He says, hey, no ultimatums, bro. You be careful with your words because you can't rent my headspace. And he's like, yeah. Do it. He's like, no, I need you to pick. He says, and he kicked the dude to the curb because you can't control people. And that's what happens too much in this world, in my opinion. Like, we try to control everybody and then we fail and we then get angry and then the anger stems into more anger and more anger and more anger. And then we have this world that we live in where nobody gets along and people are unhappy and kids are being abused and spouses are being abused and you're abusing yourself and you're abusing substances. And it's just this constant flow downwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, to piggyback off what you're saying, a lot of people just need to be more cutthroat. Like, as much of as a prick it is, like, I had negative friends. I just cut them out, blocked their numbers, got rid of them.
Why is that wrong to do?
Because people are they care too much about what people think about them. So I'm trying to be.
But why is it bad to cut out negative people? I would think that's.
Oh, it's fantastic. Some people are just too nice to do it. They're too scared of, like, oh, what are they going to think of me? Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't
think they're nice. I don't think they're nice. I think you said it. They're too scared.
Ooh, yes. Overcome that fear and unfollow people.
I don't think people are nice. I think people are pussies. I think straight up people are I don't think people are nice. I don't think that it's nice to. One of my friends, she's got this toxic woman in her life. Toxic. Always drunk. And when she gets drunk, she screams all sorts of things out. I mean, the stuff that comes out of her mouth is so foul. And then the next day, she's super nice. Hi, everybody. Sorry for last night. I said, dude, don't apologize to me. You didn't say these things in front of my 12 and 16-year-old child, in front of my 10 and 11-year-old child. You didn't say that stuff in front of me. You don't remember, but the minute you showed up, I left. Because I've sat with you in a car for 4 hours, and I talked to you for 4 hours. And we had a deep conversation when all your friends were passed out, drunk as skunks, and I was driving us home safely so I didn't die because you guys were going to drink and drive. I just don't hang out with you. She's like, well, I mean, that's not really nice though, Vikram. I said, oh, so it's nice for you to come over pissed drunk, higher than a kite, and scream profanities at me for no reason at all, and say all sorts of nonsense for 4 hours, and then threaten to kill yourself for 5 hours, and I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning to try to save you because, look, you went through your shit, right? Yeah, so did I. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you're being nice. I think you're being super selfish by not giving them, you're enabling their behavior by continuing to friend them. You are actually part of their problem by allowing their behavior in your life.
Exactly. That's why I think everyone should just cut people off who don't contribute to their life. I'm not trying to be like manipulative or anything like that, but
I don't
it really
think you
comes
need to
down
apologize for that either, Isaac. I don't think you need to justify your answer.
Yeah, it's just unfollow. Okay, cool. You're a piece of shit. I realize that. Yeah. All right, bye. Like, you don't need to tell them you could address it, but like there's nothing stopping you from just like blocking a person's number and just going about your life. Like, at the end of the day, like when you look at it, when you're dead, when you're dying on your last moments of breath,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you going to be thinking about?
Not yet.
Are you going to be thinking about this fucking person, or are you going to be thinking about the great life that you had? Like, that's always playing in my head all the fucking time. Like,
Right.
one, I'm not married yet, so I always think of like, okay, like if I was going to invite people to my like I think it's called marriage. I don't know what's it called when people get married. When they tie the knot with a person, like
Yeah.
the
Marriage.
ceremony. Thank you.
Marriage
Thank you.
party.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I always think of like,
Expensive
would I
dinner.
invite this person to my wedding? Probably not. Cool. Peace. I don't care about you. Yeah. Would this person be in my life when I'm dead? Like when I'm dead, will they miss me? Will I have impacted their life? Maybe. Cool. Like that's how I base my decisions. Like a lot of my decisions go off as well as like the story. Like I imagine myself being a grandpa and I'm telling my
Yeah.
grandkids or I'm writing down in the books and they can look through everything that I've wrote, just something exciting that happened, a life that I was proud of. I'm not saying like have the fucking flashy car and the nice like fucking watch. None of that shit. Like actually have substance to your life. Actually find fulfillment and actually just figuring out like, man, this was awesome. Like I find the most simplest things fucking amazing. I'm just like, that is so cool. Like some guy lights up like when he's talking about fucking planes. Awesome.
Right.
Let's have a conversation. Like I want to hear some fucking passion out of you. And great, I'll support you. One of my friends, she was a professional equestrian. Now she wants to go for the Olympics. That is so fucking cool to me. Like, why wouldn't I support that? And she's like, I don't know, girl. Fucking shout that shit from the rooftops. Like I'm gonna support you as best I can. Like that's sick.
That's awesome.
Like, it's not the like no one's gonna really be like, oh, I have this super nice fucking Rolls Royce. Like cool. Like
I'm gonna be cremated in my Rolls Royce. I'm just letting you know. I mean, just
yeah, cool. Good for you, dude. If that makes you happy, fuck yeah.
On my
for
yacht.
Me, I don't give two shits. Don't give two shits about that. Because I know at the end of the day, when you're on your last breaths, or you fucking want to take your life, or put a gun through your mouth and fucking pull the trigger, like you're not thinking about that shit.
No,
you're thinking about other stuff.
The car, none of that matters.
Exactly. None of it fucking matters. Like no one's on the deathbed and you're just like, man, if I worked a little bit longer, that'd be fucking great. No one's honestly, when I've seen this happen several times, and where the person has their last breaths and you see the light go out in their eyes. Like, how fucking real can that get? Like, just the stupid petty shit people care about doesn't fucking matter. Like, none of this stuff matters. Like, what you're doing doesn't matter. I know it sounds fucking rude, and to you, you're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, like, none of that shit fucking matters. Like, what really matters is the life that you lived. Because at the end of the fucking day, probably some person who's numbed out of their fucking brain is going to bag you up and just put some stuff around your toes so we can identify the dead body.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
dude.
Just zipping the fucking bag closed of the body bag. Like, that's literally your last moments until you get dumped into a mortuary. Like, that's really what's going to fucking happen. Like, you're in a bag. That's what's happening. Done deal. And then some person's probably going to do some makeup and put you in a coffin and bury you. But none of that shit fucking matters. Like, I've lost count how many times I put people on body bags. And it's just like, cool, this person died. And I always wonder, what was their life like?
Right. Well, you know,
I don't know.
I've seen many elderly people now, not dead, but I was reading a book. It's called Tribal Influence this morning, and a man died that lived in a 55 plus community on the golf course, and these other guys. So he was bagged up on hole 14, and the golfers just went from hole 14 to hole 15, or from 13 to 15. And they said, well, you know, aren't you going to pay dues to your friend? And they're like, nah, people die, life goes on, right? No tribe, no impact, just another person. Okay, he died. Nobody cared. And then the other guy that died, right, they're climbing Mount something or the other, and they died, and 3 of the bodies got rescued, and the 4th body was stuck up on the hillside. And word got back, and, you know, one of the guy's buddies is like, holy crap, dude. We can't just leave him out there. Like, this was such a great human being. We have to go get him. And they're like, well, sir, there's a huge storm. We can't fly up there. He's like, let's go. I'm flying out there. I got all my gear. He hiked up the mountain called the helicopter. Said, hey, we're right here. There's a clear spot. Come fly, get us. And so some people's lives are so meaningless. And some people's and they're long, right? Long, meaningless lives. And then some people's lives are so short, or what people would consider short, but they're so meaningful. I want to have a life that's meaningful for as long as possible. And, you know, making the money is exciting. We all need to earn an income, right? We all need to make money. We all need to pay our bills. We need to have our family safe. We need to have our, you know, basic hierarchy of needs met. But if we don't, we have to earn money, right? That's just one of the, it's the medium to live by in the current world that we live in. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of it. There's nothing wrong with it, because when you make a lot of money, you can give back. You know, my rich dad, his family gives probably millions of dollars a year to charities. Millions, not like hundreds of thousands, which would be still amazing. Not tens of hundreds, not thousands, not dollars, millions of dollars every year. And he makes time for everything. And it's like, when he dies, I mean, God, nobody wants him to die because he's such a good dude. But then there's other people who live to 200 years old and they die, and it's like, wow, I mean, we really used a lot of resources keeping that person alive.
Yeah, it's interesting because like if you go down the street, obviously with COVID right now, and a lot of people are not on the street, but like 50 years from now, 60 years from now, all this stuff's gonna be dead. And these whole this is maybe sadistic, or I don't know if that's the right word to say, but like these people are like, I'm gonna fucking change the world. Great.
Do it.
Cool. Do it. Maybe not do it. Maybe, to be honest, I'm sorry, but like the cavemen probably had a bigger impact than you will. Like, as fucked up as that is, like some caveman who took a shit or some cat who got buried in the snow had way more impact than you had. And it's like, how would I just live my fucking cool life? Like, I'll just live my own cool life. The fucking woolly mammoth who probably in his head's like, fuck, it's really cold outside, and got frozen to death and didn't think anything of it, had a fucking impact. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's just, for me, it's, okay, what can I do to have a life that I'll be proud of? I'm not trying to impress anyone. There's no one else to impress. No one gives a fuck. Either people are happy that you're doing what you're doing, and that's very select few, or they're just kind of like, you know what, fuck this fucker. I hope he fails. I can't wait for him to fail. Yeah. Like, ooh, I this, like, your problems are like, I like it. And you got to be really self-aware of it. You got to be understanding, like, no one likes to hear someone bragging about their shit all the time. No one does. If anyone does it, it's like, oh, fuck. Like, in my head, I'm like, fuck off. Like,
here they go
again. Big whoop. Like, here's a fucking pat on your head. Yeah. Like, why don't you just be happy with who you are and accept, like, you know what? I'm doing pretty cool. I'm enough. I'm living the life that I want.
Right.
Like, not to poop on anyone's parties, like, I'm going to fucking ding the universe like Steve Jobs. You're probably not. You're probably not. Like,
the Steve Jobs, the Jeff Bezos, right? Those are Elon Musk's, right? Those are, and even the people that take over these companies after these guys are gone. And these are people that have been groomed. They don't have it. They don't have it. It's just, there's something in a few select people that can just have such a crazy impact. But, you know, what one of the things that I realized, Isaac, recently, and I don't know who told me this. I think it was my spiritual guide. She said, stop trying to impact everybody. Just try to impact one. She said, if you can impact one life every time you talk online, just one person changes their life. One person has impact. That's 365 days of impact. That's 365 lives. That's a small auditorium, Vikram. That's like a school auditorium full of little kids' lives that you changed. I was like, whoa, that's a lot. She's like, so stop trying to go for 365 a day and just do one a day, and then craft a message that impacts one, and then it'll impact two, and then it'll impact 4 and 8, and who knows, maybe you get to 365 in one day. Maybe you don't, but just work on the one. And she says, and before you work on them, work on you. So it's great to document your experiences, and it's great to live your best life ever. But like you said, dude, everybody posts their highlight reels. Right? Everybody's got a mask on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok, right? They show the one perfect, the cap flicking trick, right? The guy flicks the cap, it hits the wall, it goes up, the other cap. How many times did he try that before he got that? Right? 10,000.
Yeah.
10,000 tries, but nobody talks about the work that needs to get done anymore. We only talk about the results of all the hard work. And we all want to see, right? Everybody cried when Kobe Bryant died.
Oh, that one irked the shit out of me. But they
sat on their fucking couch, bro. They sat on their couch. They didn't do anything to make their life more impactful. They're oh my God, Kobe was such a great guy. Great. What are you going to do to change your life now? And I'm guilty of it. I fucking did nothing. What did people do after oh my God, he died. It's so sad. Oh my God. When you die, what are people going to say? Like, why are you worried about the whole world being upset about this person? You know why? Because he had impact. He had heart. He did what he wanted to do. He died a champion. He died impacting people's lives the entire way through. Are you going to have that impact at the end of the day?
Yeah. It's fantastic. Like, there's nothing short of amazing what Kobe Bryant did. I just don't understand why people were crying over him. I'm not saying like obviously his close friends totally understand. But these fucking regular Joe Schmoes who are just like, RIP for Kobe. Like, did you fucking talk to this guy? Did you meet him? Did you hey man, it was great meeting you. Did you meet his family? No, you probably watched this fucking dude drop 60 points on his last game. And you're like, cool.
Drunk at a bar.
Why the fuck? Don't get me wrong. I think death is sad. It's a part of life.
Well,
you're going to die anyways.
You're also more numb to death because you're in the business of death. And then you also were probably deathly scared of your life being taken from you as a child too. So death has a different impact than it does for most people. So you know that is also something that I say, that people probably aren't going to have that realization because you see death and now you're like, I want to live. Whereas most people see death and it's like, oh my God, I'm one step closer to my demise and I haven't done anything.
That's what people need to understand. You're dying now. Like every day that you wake up, you're dying.
Yeah. That's it. I'm getting younger, bro. Look at me.
Yeah. Like you're actually fucking dying. And it doesn't, I don't understand it. Like Stoic philosophy, I've been studying a lot of that and I really like it.
Yeah, you've been hanging out with bedrooms.
Yeah. So I like that stuff a lot. And it's really good because it's a reminder that you're going to die. People need to understand, you're dying. You could have died. Literally in the womb. I've seen so many fucking awesome parents who had a miscarriage. Yeah. It's boom, that could have been you. You're fucking alive and you're dying. Literally right now, I'm dying right now. I'm sitting in this chair and I know I'm dying. But the way you want to do it, and I think Kobe Bryant did it fucking amazing. I'm not saying how his situation ended out, but how he lived his life. He lived a life that it's damn, that's fucking dope. I'm pretty sure he had an idea that what he's doing won't last long. That's why he gave so much time to the game.
Yep.
Dude. And he achieved greatness. That's fucking, I find that stuff way more beautiful than the fucking highlight reel. I like the tiny stuff. I like the stuff where getting into the green of it. I love the shit. I love hearing about the shit that people went through in the highlight reel. On my feed, I posted of me speaking at this mastermind. But what took me to get there was fucking sucked ass, big ass. It sucked. But no one wants to fucking hear that. No one wants to say hey, I had to go crawl back to my grandma and be hey, I have no place to go. I'm about to be homeless. Can I go back in? Can I be with you?
Can I live with you?
Yeah. No one's talking about that.
Surprisingly though, Isaac, I've had a few podcast interviews this year that I'm grateful for. And I talked to my buddy that recorded one earlier this year. And I said, hey, dude, how did it perform? And I was super vulnerable. I talked about all the vulnerable things, right? People think, oh, because you drive a decent car and you wear a shirt with a collar on it, or you have some, nice things in your apartment or house that you've got it made. And I was real raw with him, and he said it's the most downloaded one that he's ever had, because it wasn't just the highlight reel. And so I think the tides are turning where people actually want to hear what you went through, because that's more relatable, right? Kobe Bryant spent every day of his life for 8 hours a day eating shit. Michael Jordan, 12 hours a day eating shit. Tiger Woods, his whole life eating shit, right? They didn't go to the parties. They didn't smoke the weed. They didn't drink the fucking coolers. They didn't bang the hose. Well, I mean, Kobe did for a little bit of time, but, that's a different story. Sorry, Kobe.
Are you sorry? You don't know him.
I know, and I'm not sorry, because he lived his best life ever, right? And sometimes when you live your best life ever, you make decisions that you don't want to hurt other people, but they accidentally do hurt other people. The question is when you hurt somebody, do you get up and learn from it, or do you continue doing it? And guess what? Humans take a lot of learning. We're just not programmed to change. We're programmed to make mistakes over and over again. And, some of the things that I'm implementing now, I heard 5 years ago, and I'm like, why didn't I do that 5 years ago? Oh, yeah, because 5 years ago, I was a complete fucking mess. So there's no way I could implement all of what I was being taught, because I was trying to keep my head above water. Well, yeah, that makes total sense why I didn't do any of that shit, right? And it's the same thing. And so humans do the same thing, but most humans, dude, it's like what I see right now. They only regurgitate what they hear. So if they listen to this news channel, they regurgitate that. If they listen to this news channel, they regurgitate that. If they listen to no news channel, they're like, am I supposed to go inside the restaurant, or do I have to go outside of the restaurant? Like, do I order from the phone, or can I go in to order? Do I get a menu, or is it on my phone like last time? Like, can somebody help me here? They're like, where have you been hiding under? I'm not hiding. I'm just not listening to the same shit you're listening to. Like, I'm just protecting my mind. We got to wrap this up, dude. We jammed for like 90 minutes almost.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I got my big water jug, and it says complete gratitude on it, right? I love it. And I look, and it's covering my clock, and I'm like, man, I went through like 2 big jugs of water. Oh shit, it's 2:30. Yeah, we've been rapping for a long time. Okay, couple of questions. Questions. Where can people find you?
Oh, dude, that's tough.
Where do you want people to find? Where's the one place you want people to connect?
Find me. I don't want anyone to find me.
Yes,
I've told you this. I've told you this before. Like, my whole thing right now, I'm like on a conflict, internal conflict. Like, I want to be fucking Batman, where I'm just a fucking myth to a few people. Like, everyone else, but only a few people know who I am, which is like the Justice League. And I'm a huge nerd. So that's where I'm like, I'm happy where I'm at.
Okay, so everybody can see your name, and
if you find me, cool, I'll talk to you. But
so you guys can find him on Instagram. I'm sure. I think he's on Instagram, possibly. I think I've slid into his DMs. That's how we reconnected over the years. So if you find him on Instagram, great. If you don't, well, you're lost. What do you want to leave people with, dude? I mean, I know you've been through a lot of stuff in your short years. You shared a lot of stuff vulnerably, which I appreciate from the bottom of my heart, because I know that it's not easy to open up. We shared a lot of laughs on this call too, which was a lot of fun. It was not just like, oh my God, I'm such a victim and I got beat up and like, I'm a big fucking baby, come and save me. And what do you want to leave people with? Because I think that no matter what the age is, people can learn from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you want to leave the world with on this beautiful Thursday?
The biggest one that's impacted me the most is that you are enough. Like, if you can get that through your head, you're enough to, if you're in a bad marriage, you're enough to fix it. If it's an abusive marriage, you're enough to leave it. You want to fucking start a business, you're enough. If you want to be world class at something, you're enough. Like, that's really it. Like, that's what's really stopping a lot of people, is their self-worth. And if they're able to understand that they are enough to do blank or enough to do anything, that they're willing to do it, like that's it. Like that's all it takes. Like just a little bit of like just understanding that, just like I am enough, like just internalizing it. It was just this moment. It was similar to like when I wanted to kill myself. Like when I wanted to kill myself, they call it a divine intervention. I put a razor blade to my throat and I was going to go carotid and go down. So it'd be like, I'll bleed out really fucking quick. I'll probably be like done in like 2 minutes. But, but like at that moment, there's like a divine intervention. That was what I would talk to other people about it. It's just like these words that had like, with a pen and paper, he created an empire. And it was like all these lessons aligned for me, like from like life lessons from people that I didn't even remember. Like it was just all these weird lessons of like, this is what I'm going to do. That same exact moment happened for me when I was doing the dishes and it just said, you're enough. Like I am enough. Like that's what people just need to understand. Those are the two moments that like really defined my life of like where I'm at right now. But if people can really understand like you're enough and actually internalize that and believe it, I don't care if you got to do affirmations or anything like that, but just really like have that settle into your bones and you'll be fine.
I love it, man. I love it. And as I always say, you guys, you are loved. Whether you believe it or not, you are loved because your heart still beats. Your soul still sticks with you. And until your heart stops, you are enough. Isaac, I can't thank you enough for your time today. I don't.
Oh yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, dude. I didn't know where we were going with it. That's what I love about these because they're just raw, unscripted, they're real. And, one day when people are ready to find you and you're ready to be found, divine intervention will kick in. But if you guys need a kick-ass, dope copywriter in the meantime, find him because he'll ask you questions of yourself that are well worth his fee because it'll make you think about yourself and your life and your accomplishments and what you want to do with the second quarter of your life. And just remember, the best is yet to come, baby. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Isaac.
No problem, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.